Well, hello good peoples of the internet and welcome back to my channel. Today I've got something a bit different. Don't worry, the roadmaps to every season are still coming up, but something struck my fancy whilst I was at work, so I decided why not make a video out of that. And that something is to me what is a bit of a missed opportunity in Supernatural. Something that maybe I would personally change. See what I did there? I like a good word play. So anyways, I think maybe the boys should have driven a hearse. Wait, I'm not saying that I don't like Baby. The 67 Impala is a great looking car, it's a sweet ride, it's undeniable. But it wasn't the first choice that Kripke had in mind, so maybe someone could have talked him into having a hearse. Because at first Kripke was considering having a 65 Mustang, and it's his neighbor that worked with vintage car that said, yeah, well, Mustang, it's a good car if those guys are pussies, but if they're real badasses, they'd drive a 67 Impala. So Kripke went online, he looked it up, and saw that the car was great, and history was made. So yeah, like I said, the car is great. It's just something that struck my fancy whilst I was at work, that a hearse, well, it's a practical car when you come to think about it, on many fronts. Because what are the boys doing most of the time? They're in a cemetery, digging up graves so that they can burn the body of some ghost. Well, a hearse, it's kind of supposed to be in a cemetery, so wouldn't be conspicuous at all. Ah, yes, I know, they're not always in cemeteries. They're pretending to be FBI agents, wildlife services, CDC, whatever. Well, driving an Impala, it's kind of conspicuous as well. So what could they have done? Well, park a block up or down the street, rent a car. They're pretty handy at stealing a car if need be, so those are all options that they would have had if they were driving a hearse. But a hearse doesn't just have the unconspicuous factor when you're in the cemetery. It's got plenty of space in the back, so you could hide a body, or two, or kidnap someone and drive them back there. Heck, if you've got a demon in the back, there's plenty of space for him to spin around and do nothing because he's trapped there. And you could still have your arsenal there. Heck, if they wanted, they could have slept in the back. It's still a possibility, even with a body and even with their arsenal. And even with a spare tire and a jack and all that. So, yeah, it would have made sense. And there's one more point. When you come into town driving a hearse, the goth kids are gonna think that you're super cool and they're gonna want to talk to you. And if there's one thing in Supernatural that we know for certain, is that a goth kid is going to know everything in his little town or city that's kind of creepy. Urban legends, haunted asylum, derelict hospitals, whatever. If there's something weird, they're gonna know about it. And if you're driving a hearse, well, they're gonna be glad to speak to someone like you. You're not some old fart driving a Toyota Prius or whatever. You're one of the cool kids, even if you're a bit older. And let's face it, the boys weren't that old in the beginning of the series, and if you think that they're old by the end of the series, well, I'm kind of reaching that age, so maybe I'm old and I've already got one foot in the grave. Oh well, doesn't really matter. I mean, I live right next to a cemetery and there's a funeral home a little bit up the street and there's a church right beside where I live, so I guess I'm golden. But yeah, I think a hearse would have been a pretty decent choice. And if you're thinking like, well, a hearse, it's too big and it's a big gas guzzling machine, well, the Impala is kind of big and heavy as well. And it's still got a V8 and it's still a gas guzzling machine, so yeah, on that respect, both of them are pretty similar. And yeah, a hearse, you might think that it's slow because it usually is driven pretty slow, but those things got real big V8s in them, so if you want to all ass, well, they can do that. So yeah, it could have been cool. I'm not saying that it's a necessity, that's something that they completely missed the point of the show. Not at all. It's just something that struck my fancy. And I'm kind of saddened by the fact that we saw no hunters at all driving a hearse. It would have been great to learn a little bit more about coach companies and their specific lines of different premium categories of vehicles if you want. So yeah, this was just a little brainwave I had and I wanted to share with you. So I hope that you enjoyed that a little bit, and I'll see you soon with another roadmap video. Bye, hunters.